Afternoon, councillors, staff. Time is 4:32. So we'll start our official council meeting. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we meet on this afternoon, the Wiradjuri people, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We have no spectators in the gallery, but staff and councillors will be well aware of the exit process for council. We have no one to speak in public forum. We'll tick that off. Next item is live streaming, recording and publishing of council minutes. This council meeting is being streamed live, recorded and published in accordance with council's live streaming in council meetings policy. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the council, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded, and their voice, image and comments will form part of the live stream and recording. The Chair and or the General Manager have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and or unacceptable behaviour and or comments. Today's meeting is being streamed live as well as recorded and published on Council's website. Item 4, attendance. Apologies. Do we have any apologies? We don't. We have a full house. Could we all be upstanding, please, for the expressions of sympathy? Could we please have a moment's silence for the following: Heather Cassells, Peter Gregory, Peter Berry, Terence McGrath, Coral Jean Hennock, Patricia Tooby, June Hutchinson, Vivian Elridge, Philip Burrows, Betty Luckeye, Kay Gill, Robert Wilson, Gordon Dowling, Rosemary Carnley, Yvonne Roberts, Kenneth Edwards, Gwyneth Wybrow, Peter Stonke, Mark Dunn, David Todd, Michael Johnson, Janice Smith, Burton Laundas and Jacqueline Knight. Thank you. Item 6, confirmation of minutes. Confirmation of minutes of the Hilltops Council Ordinary Meeting, 18th of December 2019. Recommendations there. Moved Councillor Horton, seconded Councillor Manchester. May be accepted. All those in favour? Aye. Against? So be it. Thank you. Item 6.2 is the confirmation of the minutes of Hilltops Council Extraordinary Meeting on 18th of January 2020. Moved Councillor Manchester, seconded Councillor Horton, was it? Thank you, Councillor Horton. All those in favour? Against? Before I pass that resolution on the minutes on that extraordinary meeting, I believe Councillor Walker you may have had a comment in regard to those minutes.
I just wonder why the amendment wasn't attached to the thing. I was just trying to get yeah, in fact, I put an apology in, and it says there that my apology wasn't, it said I couldn't attend, and it says here that it was not accepted. So I just wondered why it was not accepted.
My understanding of what happened there was Councillor Walker declined the invitation that was sent out to the calendar, and that was, in his consideration, an apology for that meeting, and he was listed as no apology. So I'd like to have that changed. It noted that Councillor Walker, if that classifies an apology, I'm not too sure on the protocols of that. There are protocols around apologies, I know, but Councillor Walker, in good faith, believed that that was his apology for that meeting. So if councillors are happy for that to be adjusted, and I've had a mover and a seconder, I'll ask for everyone. Those in favour? Again? So be it. Thank you, councillors. Item 7, disclosures of interest. If we have any of those. No. Item 8 is a mayoral minute, and it reads there on your agenda as confidential report in closed council. That mayoral minute will be, or is, the council resolved to appoint a general manager for Hilltops Council, and that the process will be dealt with in closed council. Putting that up, that I had intended it to be in the initial report. And that process be dealt with in closed council. So that's there on the screen, councillors. I'll move that, and being a mayoral minute, I don't need a seconder really, so all those in favour of accepting that? Thank you. Those against? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Go on to item 9, Mayor's report. Councillors, the report of my activities, or the bulk of them, are there for council to receive and note. Moved Councillor Manchester, seconded Councillor O'Connor. All those in favour? Again, thank you, councillors. Next item is councillors' reports. So we'll start, and there's some being delivered. We'll start and go around the table. Councillor Wallace.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Stadmiller.
Today's meeting, we all attended on 2 occasions.
Thank you, councillor. We will get to the bottom of where that 8 a.m. invitation come from, because I did send emails out, and for those who weren't at the last council meeting on the 21st of January, I sent an email to all councillors advising them that it will be held at 1 o'clock. Yeah.
I don't believe there was an update.
Okay. The email was updated. No. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Rolls.
Thank you. As written, can I just make a comment, please, on the cake store? This was run by a young woman, Miss Wright, and it was very much spur of the moment, but I'd just like to say how generous all the people were who contributed the goods, and also how generous the public was. Everything in the store that we had was sold, and everybody was very generous. So there's a lot of calls for philanthropy, and it's not always in money, sometimes it's in kind and less on the time.
Councillor Armstrong.
Mr Mayor, on the 8th of the 1st Young Australia Day meeting, 15th of the 1st June reviews, sort of meeting with council the same day. On the 16th of the 1st, I attended the opening of the Ripley Water Supply. I'm very pleased to advise council that the project delivered by contractors and also council staff on budget, on time, much to the satisfaction and appreciation of the community of Ripley. Outstanding example of what can be achieved on partner with the state and also with the I commend the director and the staff on their project. Also the 21st of the 1st, the LEP Working Committee meeting. 21st of the 1st, the Sporting Walk of Fame presentation honouring Morris Benson and his contribution to sports within the young area. It was disappointing that was not better advertised and to allow a greater number of the public to attend and also council to attend. The 26th of the 1st Australia Day presentations and celebrations and 29th of the 1st.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. Councillor Horton.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Excuse me. I have too many to go through one after the other. They're all listed there in the business paper. But I too would like to comment on the Bribri, the water to Bribri. One of the people out there, one of the elders out there, commented it's the greatest thing to happen in Bribri since the rail line was opened. So that's how much they appreciate it. And we had afternoon tea in the old pub there. And another gentleman, he was Greg somebody, the president of the group out there, pointed out the back door and said, "John, see that? Look what water does." And there was a little rectangular of lawn there, about the size of a bathroom mat. And he was so pleased to see this beautiful green piece of grass. And so was I. I'd also like to congratulate Director Olsen and his staff, because we all attended a meeting out there on the 20th of October. We said they'd have water there for Christmas, and they did have water there for Christmas. So you've done a good job there, John, and I know that the Mayor behind the scenes was making it happen also. Congratulations to you and your staff. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Horton. Councillor Flannery.
The EGM, Mr Mayor, in this meeting today.
Thank you, Councillor Walker.
Meetings as minuted.
Thank you, Councillor Manchester.
Meetings as minuted, the LEP meeting and 2 meetings with the Acting General Manager at the Kruger Medical Centre and the Mill Park in Murrumborough, and also involvement in the Organisation for Australia Day.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor O'Connor.
The 15th of January, the Extraordinary Council meeting. The 25th of January, the Australia Day Ambassador Dinner, which was, as usual, just a lovely night to get to know the Ambassador. 26th of January, officiated at the Australia Day event in Harden. The 29th, which is today, the Council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Tuckerman.
Meetings as minuted, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. So the recommendation of councillors, those reports be read and noted. Going to move in a second for those. Councillor Wallace moved. Councillor Armstrong seconded. All those in favour?
Aye.
Again, so be it. Thank you, councillors. Community recognition scheme. Did anyone have anyone to? No.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to acknowledge the rural firefighters in our zone and the emergency service workers who have done an absolutely extraordinary job supporting our region and our neighbours in our region. I'd just like, it's important that we acknowledge, and perhaps a letter to the zone acknowledging the efforts of those, not only staff but also the volunteers.
I fully endorse Councillor Tuckerman's sentiment, and to the people who've lost property, it's devastating, and the loss of life is truly saddening. So we are very fortunate to be where we are situated, but our thoughts and our hopes are out there for those people who have been affected and are still being affected. The fires are a long way from being finished, so we hope everyone stay safe. Thank you.
Can I add to that, if I may, and recognise also the other, through Councillor Tuckerman, the other emergency services in New South Wales, Fire and Rescue, the police and the ambulance, just to mention a few of the many other. The Rural Fire Service is certainly the front of it all, but behind the scenes is just an absolute massive team of emergency workers doing, just carrying on their duties and doing a magnificent job of it.
They have, and I have been in contact with my fellow mayors in regard to that and passed on our thoughts to those council areas. So thank you for that. The next item on the agenda is the Acting General Manager's report, is the preparation of the financial statements. So I'll hand that over. Thank you.
I'll just defer to John Hughes.
Thought that would happen.
Okay. All right. Well, Council has prepared the annual financial reports for the year ending 30th of June 2019 pursuant to the requirements of Section 413 of the Local Government Act. The prescribed time for the preparation and auditing of Council's annual financial statements is determined in accordance with Section 416 of the Act, which provides that a Council's financial reports for a year must be prepared and audited within 4 months after the end of that financial year. However, Council has applied for an extension of time to the departmental chief executive, and at the ordinary meeting of Council on the 25th of September, Council resolved to apply for such an extension. On the 25th of October 2019, Council received approval from the Office of Local Government for the extension, which was granted until the 28th of February 2020 to complete the 2018-19 financial statements. Following the preparation of the draft financial statements, Council is formally required to refer these statements to audit in accordance with Section 413(1) of the Local Government Act. The consolidated financial operating result for the year, as detailed in the income statement attached to this report, shows a net operating surplus from continuing operations of $5,386,000. In addition to this operating result, Council realised $3,474,000 from the revaluation of infrastructure assets and $785,000 from the revaluation of financial assets, providing total comprehensive income of $9,645,000 for the year. During 2018-19, Council undertook the revaluation of infrastructure assets comprising the open space, other structures and swimming pool assets by a qualified independent valuer in accordance with Australian accounting standards and the Local Government Code of Accounting Practice. Council is required to undertake the revaluation of infrastructure assets within 5 years. Council maintains a 5-year cycle for the revaluation of these assets, and these assets were last revalued in 2014. The revaluation resulted in an increase in the value of open space assets of $3,474,000. The other revaluation that is reflected in the total comprehensive income is the revaluation of Council's shareholding in Southern Phone Company. At the ordinary Council meeting in October 2019, Council considered a report dealing with the sale of Southern Phone. Whilst the sale has taken place after the end of the accounting year, the fair value of this asset has been revalued to its market value in accordance with the guidelines contained in the financial instrument standard AASB 9. The The revaluation resulted in the realisation of the increased value of the asset by $785,000 in the 2018-19 financial period, and when the actual sale of the financial asset took place in the 2019-20 financial period, there will be no profit on sale to bring to account. So that's the formal part of the pronouncements in the report. What we have presented to Council here is Council's income statement of comprehensive income, statement of cash flows, general purpose financial statements, and special purpose statement of changes in equity, statement of financial position, statement of cash flows, and special purpose financial statements, all in draft format for referral to audit for the year ended 30 June 2019. Are there any questions from councillors in relation to the draft financial statements for referral to audit?
Councillor Wallace.
Mr. Mayor, new director of these reports. It's just two questions. One of which is taken to already is the rise of values due to revaluations and the consequent increase in depreciation. When you speak of open space assets, why do they go up?
Mr. Mayor, the council goes through a process of revaluing its assets every 5 years. So in 2019, the open space class of assets was up for revaluation. The open space assets consist of those assets, recreational assets that sit in parks and reserves. It includes swimming pools, and it includes other structures like monuments, and generally other structures sitting on council reserves. So those three classes of assets are the ones that are up for revaluation in this financial year, and the revaluation of those increased the net value of those assets by some $3 million. That valuation was done by an independent valuer, Scott Fullerton, and is consistent with the valuation process that we've used previously, whereby the three former councils used the Fullerton valuation. So that's the cause of the revaluation increment. The valuation increment is treated differently to the devaluation or the decrement that we have on the road assets, because it is an increase in value. That revaluation goes to our revaluation reserve and sits in other sources of income, so within equity. It increases the value of the asset by $3 million, and increases net equity by $3 million in the asset revaluation reserve. In roads, we've got a decrement sitting there. It's a direct impact on our operating result, and that's because at the time of merger, council is required to consolidate all of the revaluation reserves within equity and start off with zero reserves as at 1 July, 17th of May 2017. So that's the reason for that you see roads appearing in the open space assets appearing in the asset revaluation reserve, and the roads appearing in the operating.
Okay, thank you for that. That answer, Councillor Wallace.
My second question, just in relation to the under-performance of user charges and fees for the
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the main difference between the two figures there is that included in the budget figure of $18,340,000 was a charge of just over $5 million for income from plant hire. When we actually do the financial statements at the end of the year, we have to eliminate the plant hire income and expenditure against and only bring to account the net cost, which is what we use to distribute the costs of labour and stores, etc. on that plant hire. In the actual budget for the year, it was actually brought to account at the full value included in there, and that's what we monitor our performance against at a budget level, but in the statutory statements we're required to eliminate that.
Thank you for that. Any further questions, councillors? If there's no further, Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just the variations in the operating statement for the water and sewer variation rates.
I'll answer that one. In the water and sewer funds, in the charge of $888,000 in the current financial year appears to stack up, on analysis, appears to stack up fairly reasonably, and on my analysis, Councillor Armstrong, and on the finance team's analysis, appears to be quite reasonable. In 2016-17 financial statements, the employee costs came in at a figure of $747,000. At the moment, subject to further analysis, I'm inclined to say that the figures in the 2017-18 statements may have been in error. The comparative in the 2017 statement may be in error and require restating in the comparatives, because I feel that they may be understated in comparison.
Will they be adjusted in the current set?
I'll be discussing that with the auditors. I believe that's the appropriate treatment.
Thank you for that. Any other questions around the table?
Mr Mayor, just
Councillor Flannery.
to clarify on those user charges, why isn't it booked at cash at cost in the budget, in the first part?
The treatment of plant hire is different to other income and expenses. It's actually, plant hire is actually a means that we use to distribute our costs out to jobs. So we actually accumulate all the operating costs against the particular assets, whether it be graders, trucks, whatever it might be, and then we use a recovery rate to recover that out to the job, whether it be a RMS job or whether it's one of our own jobs. And so that income is raised through a timesheet and is used to recover the cost of those plants when they're used on the job. Now, if we generate any surplus in that plant, we can transfer that surplus to cover the increased cost of the asset, but anything over and above that, we're required under the Local Government Code of Accounting code to eliminate any surplus. So over time, the theory is that income and expenditure from plant hire should be eliminate each other, and that anything to generate surplus, we're required to write that, because it's actually not outside income, it's an internal transaction generated charge.
If I may just add to that, Councillor, it's similar to the concept in company accounting where internal trading within entities is eliminated on consolidation of entities in corporate accounting, so that internal trading within group companies is eliminated so as to not double count trading between owned entities. So if a jam company trades with its wholly owned fruit growing subsidiary, it doesn't count the income and expense between its wholly owned subsidiary, and it's the same with internal plant hire charges. We don't show income we derive from ourselves in plant hire across the organisation, so it's that income, internal income, is eliminated, and it's kind of double counted in these figures. That we really should adjust our budgets. It's something that I'll be looking at in future in how we present our budgets. I think it's misleading to gross it up in the budget like that, because it's showing income we're not really entitled to. It inflates the budget.
So that answer was that it shouldn't have been shown at the higher level in the first place.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Any other further questions around the table? If not, we'll go back. I'll seek a mover of the recommendation, please. Councillor Horton, seconded by Councillor Rolls. All those in favour? Again, it's unanimous. So be it. Thank you, Councillor.
Can I just add one comment on that in relation to that report? I've been in contact with the auditors, and they will actually be on site here next week. So we're also been in touch with the New South Wales Audit Office to ensure that we're continuing to make progress against the actual audit and ensure that we get the audited statements to the department.
Thank you for that, and I can assure you that as a council we will be requesting those updates from you. Thank you. We move on to item 12.2, cash in investment report. Councillors, it's there in front of you and the recommendation is there. Move Councillor Armstrong. Seconded Councillor Walker. Questions? If not, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? So be it. Next item is outstanding rates and charges collection report. Councillors, there's a report there, and the recommendation is council receive and note the report. Moved Councillor Walker. Seconded Councillor Manchester. Any questions? Councillor Horton, question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question to Director John Hughes. Director, what action are we taking to collect the almost 13... We'll start again. What action are we planning to take to recoup the $13 million outstanding in rates and $1.6 million in outstanding water rates? I mean, that's a lot of money, nearly $15 million. So what are we planning to do to try and recoup that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just before Christmas, Council appointed a new revenue accountant who's taken over the revenue management team at Council. In addition to a thorough review of the debtors ledger, we've instituted a complete review of collections process and policy, and I'm pleased to say that in addition to collecting over $250,000 worth of additional miscellaneous debtors, we're also now making very strong inroads into rates debtors as well. The review process is taking some time. As you'd imagine, it's not something we're rushing into, but the work has commenced with a review of the systems and processes with the Technology One system and tidying up the rates balances and the customer service processes, looking at the collections methods that the staff are using, looking at the arrangements we have with internal collections methods and external collections agencies. I'm currently reviewing, the council has 3 collections agencies that have arisen up through the external agents in place with the former councils. We're looking to consolidate that into a single service, and we'll be bringing a new collections policy to council either next month or the month after, We're looking to replace the external collections provider with a single service within that time frame as well, and using more efficient techniques to collect outstanding rates data, including starting with the most obvious thing, which is more frequent and efficient customer contact with customers who aren't paying their rates, and that's starting at the basics and working through the range of techniques. But things have fallen by the wayside, and we're working very hard on getting that back out. But we've started with collecting the problem biggest balances first, and we're working our way through it. And I'm very pleased with the performance of that team. They're very young and enthusiastic team who are doing some cracking good work, and I expect to see some very rapid improvement in results over the coming months. They're certainly making some inroads in that area, and they're starting at the basics and working their way through, and we will see some results.
Sounds good, and thank you, Director John Hughes.
Question, if I may.
Councillor Walker.
What proportion of those rates, unpaid rates, may be due to hardship from drought?
I wouldn't be able to answer that without doing some research into it, Councillor, but I suspect that not a huge proportion of it, but within the rural landholders there would be some portion of it. That's something I'll take on notice, though, and provide an answer to you to the extent that we can find that out. That's I'm not aware of any hardship claims on that basis at this point in time, but I'll report if there are any.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Rolls.
Director, I presume when we're talking about giving rates, that there's some form of instalment policy that is in place, so that people can gradually pay back their rates?
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor. Yes, indeed, Councillor, there is hardship policies in place, and those policies are actively applied when people apply for hardship provisions under Council's policies. Those policies are applied fairly and equitably to anybody who applies, and they're available on Council's website.
Thank you, Director.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor.
Question, Councillor Manchester.
Just a comment through you, Mr Mayor, is that it's really not $15 million outstanding, and if you some of those rates have only just been levied, especially in the water accounts. They went out in December, and they weren't due for payment until the middle of January, so they're not really what you'd call overdue. So it is concerning the amount of money that is outstanding, like about $2 million, a little bit over $2 million that are outstanding as of the 1st of July last year. But it's not as bad as what Councillor Horton made out to be at $15 million.
I understand it. Thank you for that. Are there any more questions in regard to that matter? I'll put that matter on and move into seconder. All those in favour? Again? So be it. Thank you, councillors. Item 12.4, the development application stats for December 2019. And the reports here, councillors, and the recommendation.
Could I ask a question, please, Mr Mayor?
Can I get a mover and a seconder first, please?
Yeah, I'm happy to move
Moved by
it.
Councillor O'Connor with a question, seconded by Councillor Rolls. Question, Councillor O'Connor.
Just checking if staff numbers are adequate to keep up with all the DAs, or are we still a little bit understaffed?
Staff numbers are going well. We've actually got a new manager starting in March as well.
Thank you. If any other questions in regard to that item, Councillor Armstrong.
In regard to DA number B2019/013, notice on the clock for 181 days. That proposed use is apparently a proposed use, or is it proposed?
So you're talking about the...
Page 38.
Yep, so that's the Sir George Tavern?
Sir George Tavern.
Yeah, that's in relation to the bakery. Well, I'll have to double check on the status of the information we were discussing with them for the bakery itself, but we know some of the works have been done associated with some other recent approvals they've had on the site. But I'll take that on notice and find out some more information for you if you wish.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions regarding that item? If not, I'll put that item. All those in favour? Again, unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 20/09. It's the Young Bulk Water Filling Station. Councillor Armstrong, move a motion. Councillor.
That's a two-part motion that A, Council establish 2 high-flow water standpipes, one located at Young and one located at Arden.
Councillor, can you just let our penciller catch up? Oh, thank you. Thank you, councillor.
Such new standpipes be financed from the Young Water Reserve and Arden Water Reserves. And Part B, that Council upgrade the Young Depot standpipe to a caster system. Such upgrade be financed from the Young Water Reserve.
We'll just wait till it gets up on the screen so we can have a look.
Mr Mayor, does the proposer have an estimated cost for what there is consistent with the cost in here?
I don't have a estimated cost of that.
Yes. I'll just. Can we wait for that to go up?
That's what I asked for that to be done.
Then I'll answer your question, Councillor.
Councillor Armstrong, you're saying 2 new high flow, 2 new ones?
That's correct, Councillor.
Just a question to Councillor Armstrong. Why Harden's already got a fairly high flow filling station at the depot?
Can't access it.
Then can we just leave these questions till we get this up there, and then the appropriate staff can answer the questions?
I think Councillor Horton has seconded the motion.
Councillors just wish they'd wait to get the staff report on it, and staff can talk to the matters then. Otherwise it's speculation. We've got some spelling errors. Upper grade.
Mr Mayor, we have that word?
No, not yet. I just got it right. Get it right. Get all the spelling errors right. I read right. Shouldn't take this one. Shouldn't have done that.
Is the formatting from the wrong? There you go.
Best good as it's going to get? Yep. Okay. Councillor Armstrong, motion is there, and it's been seconded by Councillor Horton. Do we have any questions in regard to the motion? Or would the Director like to speak? We'll wait for questions. There's questions around the room everywhere, I know, so would you like to take the questions?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll start with the 2 questions that have been asked, and then we'll continue from there, if that's all right with you.
What questions were asked?
The first question was related to what's the variation in cost between the normal water filling station and then the high flow station. My investigations this afternoon indicate that for a high flow system, which will be somewhere between 80 and 100 mil offtake, as opposed to normal 50 mil offtake, it'll be an extra $10,000 to $15,000. So we'll go from $30,000 quote in there to about $45,000 in that order. I haven't got a final quote on that, but it's in that order. So yes, it will be some extra money. However, the amount that we've used or put through the station at Young Depot in the past 4 months indicate that will be able to pay that off at the current rate within about 18 months for a high flow system. I need to speak to my staff about where the second high flow system would be in Young. I would like to make sure that it stays away from AC mains and to make sure that the pipe that feeds it will be big enough. So whether it goes to the depot or whether it just goes to Wombat Road or just down to Olympic Highway, I just need to double check the location of that so we don't end up with main breaks all over the place. These things have solenoid valves, they shut off fairly quickly, causes water hammer, and it goes bang, bang, bang and pops pipes all the way along, particularly with the high flow systems. In terms of the question regarding what's at Harden at the moment, the current high flow system, one, it's inside the depot, so it can only be accessed while the depot's open. Two, the payment method is by setting up an account through our system, and the individual comes and basically buys the water, then we go through an account process to reclaim the money off them later on. If we can have a system such as this with tap and go, we avoid all the issues with accounts, and they pay for the water on the spot that they use.
Thank you for that, Director. Any other questions? Councillor Walker.
What's our cost from Golden Fields on per kilolitre?
The actual cost of water from Golden Fields per kilolitre is somewhat less than $2, but that doesn't account for our operating costs for our systems as well. We sell the water around town for our residential customers at $3.70 a kilolitre. In town, okay. In Young here.
Okay, to the standpipe then, cost, those total costs. That is Golden Fields plus our cost.
That'll be Golden Fields plus our cost, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Flannery.
Should we consider as an alternative for the funding, and I'm ask this advisedly, the drought money that's been allocated to us?
Question to consideration.
I had considered that, but I was uncertain as to whether the $1 million drought assistance was available for the creation of council-owned infrastructure.
Yeah, there's criteria, yeah.
I probably suggest that we should get some advice on that.
Good thought.
Councillors, I'd have to take that on notice. I really don't. I don't know the answer. I'd have to take that on notice.
That's a good thought, yeah. Councillor Manchester.
Yeah, just still got a question on. I realise the one at Hard is in the depot, and it's basically used by probably the majority of people. I think there's two people that distribute water across the Shire, and they have an account there and they collect it and do it that way rather than obviously a card system. And they. At Harden, they've been paying $3.80 a kilolitre for the water, whereas in Young here it's $2, and it should have been increased here probably 5 or 6 years ago. I can't understand why it hasn't been increased up to, it's not even, it wouldn't even be covering our costs. And the second thing, we need to be very careful where we do locate the second one, and even the one in Harden, if we put one, that we don't create a problem of dirty water.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that was what the Director was alluding to, and you're right about the discrepancy with water charges, Councillor Manchester, I agree. Well, that's a discrepancy one way with the bulk water. The discrepancy with the household water is 25% the other way, paid more $3.21 in the former Young area and $2.60 something in the former Harden area. So there are discrepancies that need to be addressed. Councillor Flannery had a question.
A couple of other, just with regard to the water hammer, is putting tanks in worthwhile, and the race course with the infrastructure that's been put out there at Harden?
Through you, Mr Mayor, Councillor, it all adds to the cost, I guess. It's one of those that I'd have to have a look at it, what would be the most appropriate option there. I guess what I would do now is take this recommendation or this resolution from Council, subject to it being there, and then work through as to just whether just a bulk water filling station would be best, or whether we have tanks that we can fill up slowly and we fill it up. I don't know the answer to your question yet, but we need to start. I imagine there's a lot, well, I do know there's a lot of people coming across from Harden to use the water filling station, as they up in a lot of other areas, to use the station here at Young. So I think that once we have that station over there, it won't be just the two commercial users. It will be a lot of people, I think, in that area using that new station.
Councillor Flannery.
Mr Mayor, can I just move a small amendment consistent with the question that the resolution say, or add to the resolution, to try and keep it simple, or from the drought reserve funding subject to
criteria.
Yeah, criteria.
We'll just see if we can get this in, then we can get this right. All should read or.
Or.
Or. I beg your pardon.
Sorry. Subject to criteria. Thank you.
Meeting the criteria.
It's compliance with the criteria.
Councillor Wallace, question to the mover.
I just wondered why this motion doesn't address the water cost.
Given that council would need to advertise it 28 days, it would be very initially refusing charge of anything. And that would be done.
Sorry, so Councillor Armstrong, you're saying to keep the water cost as it is for now?
Given the current drought conditions, I think that the subsidy, the small subsidy that council applies to this water is appreciated by those that are using the facility. We've got $1 million to spend on drought assistance, and we don't know what to spend it on. I actually think that this is an opportunity for the council to be proactive in recognising the issue of drought case and price support. I know Councillor Manchester claimed that we're worth money $2 a kilometre. I'd ask them to tell me how much we're paying for the stuff. So we are losing. Otherwise, we're not losing anything at all. While we're getting more than what we pay for it, we're not realising the full amount of income that we may realise at $3.80. We're certainly not losing.
Thank you for that.
Mr
Councillor
Mayor, can I
Tuckman's
just
got a
ask
question?
a question in regards to Brewer, and are they working on an accounting system? And should we be updating their standpoint?
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, Bora is working on an accounting system similar to Harden does. I'm in council's hands as to whether we update the standpipe there as well. If we update 2 areas, do we update a 3rd area? Booro's water reserve certainly isn't as healthy state as some of the others. That's my only concern there.
Yeah, I just, in regards to consistency on how we're treating it, I think it's important that we do look at updating it as well.
Councillor Rolls.
I notice in this report it talks about because of the price difference between Hilltops and other areas that was being covered by businesses for agri areas. Is there any way that we can monitor it so that the price structure for the Hilltops is consistent and not necessarily doing that almost free water to areas? Not that I want to sound as if I'm reluctant to use people who need water, but I presume this is an area of concern because it's a drawing on our area.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, there is another option there that, however, it takes a lot more administration costs. We've suggested here that it's a tap-and-go system. From an administration cost, it keeps our administration costs as small as possible. With each of these, there is an opportunity for having prepaid cards or prepaid coins. I want to get away from the coins, so let's use prepaid cards, which if you showed, you could come in to council's offices and purchase a prepaid card over the counter. However, again, that's more administration. It's more additional funds to buy the cards. It's just an additional overhead. I'm aware that some people are carting the water from other areas. The exact volume of that, it's almost impossible for us without putting a camera up or someone standing there saying, where are you coming from? Or putting toll gates up at the boundaries. It's almost impossible to identify just how much.
Mr Mayor, just a question. What will get these standpipes in place before the drought ends?
Thank you. Great question.
If council resolves tonight to allow me to put those standpipes in, there is a 5 week to 6 week delivery time. I can fast track that by spending a little more money, so it comes back to about a 2 to 3 week delivery time. As soon as council resolves that, I'll get onto that and have these things in as quickly as possible.
Do you need the resolution amended to achieve that?
I don't believe so. I think we can work within that, councillors.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillors, any further question? Councillor Stadmiller.
Mr Mayor, just the jump from $2 to young to $4, that increase, I don't think the users of the system are too happy with that. Should we just bring in line with the other ground
It's something that no doubt could be looked at, council, but I know $3.80 to $4. Anyway, that's a debate that can be had, but probably at a later time we'll need to align a lot of the water charges, as we spoke about earlier, in line with what the other communities are paying.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor. Just one quick comment. Look, I'm concerned about the price of water, but at the end of the day, when you're carting water, it's not the water that costs the money, it's the cartage. To cart 20,000 litres of water, $60 worth of water, and $200 or $300 worth of cartage.
And that, good point. Okay, councillors, so we've got a motion put there by Councillor Armstrong, seconded by Councillor Horton, that we've talked to and worked about. You've heard the director say if we need to do something with this, we need to do it now. If there's no further questions, I'll put that motion. Councillor
Sorry,
Tuppin,
Mr Mayor, I just wanted to ask, are we going to get a report in regards to Brewer, or what are councillors' feelings in regards to
We'd like to put
including
a dot point D there, councillor.
Yes, please.
Councillor Tuckman would like to add another amendment which will pass by the mover and seconder before we go ahead. Councillor.
I don't know how much is in the water reserves, So I'm asking whether we have a report back in regards to the standpipe at Boorowa.
Okay. And the question I ask now is to the mover and the seconder. Are they happy with those two dot point C and dot point D to be in their motion? Thank you, councillors. Okay, question, Councillor Stadmiller.
Based on the urgency of all the nominees, we need to delegate the director to make the necessary changes to the steam pipes and delegate that authority so that it doesn't take all the step
Through you, Mr Mayor, councillors, I think I'd, given the state of the water supply in Boorowa and the fact that we're on level 4 restrictions, I think that I'd like to have some thoughts over just how I can achieve that, even if I just come back with a memo to all councillors in the short term, but to update you. But I probably wouldn't like to do anything without letting councillors know anyway.
Thank you for that. Okay, the mover and the seconder are happy with those amendments. We've had a good discussion about that. I'll put that. All those in favour? Again, it's unanimous. Thank you, councillor. So be it. 2010 is the Hilltops Works Report. The report's there, councillors, and the recommendation is there.
Move with the question.
Moved, Councillor Walker. Seconded, Councillor O'Connor.
The question being on the very first page, maintenance grading in the western part. I think we all received a letter regarding the maintenance of Wickham Lane. Could we have some sort of indication what work's been done on Wickham Lane to address the issues in that letter from that resident on Wickham Lane?
Through you, Mr Mayor, at this stage I haven't done too much work on Wickham Lane. I am planning on doing some work there to over the next week or two to smooth out some of the lumps and bumps in there. I'm not sure that my inspections indicate that it's in quite as dire straits as the letter indicated, but it certainly could do with a bit of work there. As you can see in the report, we're struggling to do any unsealed road maintenance because of the sheer dryness of the subgrade. And that's something that will come back to a report to council next month. But I will be doing some work on Wickham Lane in the next week or two.
Councillor O'Connor.
To the director, please. Is that what you meant by no maintenance grading in Southern due to lack of water?
That's exactly right, Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you for that. And Councillor Armstrong.
There are a number of questions I asked last month back to notice. Some of them responses to those questions if you like.
Councillor, can I speak to you afterwards and find those questions? I don't believe they're sitting in here. I'll go back through my records from last meeting. We can also have that discussion.
It's a pretty pertinent point, all right. When questions are taken on notice at a council meeting, and at the last council meeting there was any number of them, we sit here tonight with they're still on notice. Any other questions in relation to this report?
So I notice the issue of gravel resheeting. The council has directed significant additional funds towards that program this year in an effort to bring that class of assets back up to the level of service, provide the level of service that the community is looking for. Given that we are unable to undertake any maintenance grading or gravel resheeting in the water, I'm going to ask the council to provide a report in regards to the cessation of those gravel resheeting works this current year. That's the start of training. And to transfer of those remaining funds to reserves to fund the travel reschedule program in the next budget. Should break negatively.
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, there will be a report coming to next council meeting about that exact matter.
Thank you.
Mr Mayor, can I
Councillor
actually
Fleming.
move that as a motion, please?
Seconded. Councillor Armstrong.
So we want another...
I was advised previously that a request for a report needs to be by virtue of a motion by a previous general manager.
So we'll add dot point B there then, please.
So we get the report.
You'll get it anyway, councillor, that's okay.
That's not what he wants.
Just a question for the director while that's being written up. I've been advised that we've banned the use of glyphosate in the Shire. Is that correct? By council staff? And if so, why?
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes. The indications I am having coming back through various legal cases is that glyphosate is not a chemical that I wish to use. However, I have started to use other chemicals. They have worked just as well as glyphosate. My issue at the moment is, again, gets back to lack of water, and those chemicals aren't working because there's no moisture in the air. So I'm talking to my staff at the moment about appropriate PPE to be used while they're using glyphosate, and there will be some glyphosate in restricted areas being used again.
Given there's no ban on the product, I struggle to see how we can make that decision. I think we need a report to come back regarding it, but it can be used quite safely, all the legal advice is, with adequate protection. I think we run the risk to our agricultural industry of banning a product that's needed to be used.
I concur 100% with Councillor Flannery on that matter. If the substance is to be banned, it's banned. If it's not banned, and we make an independent decision as a council, then there may be ramifications around that. So we need to have a definite report back to the status of that particular product, please.
So, excuse me, through you,
Councillor,
Mr Mayor, just I totally agree with your comments, but in actual fact the Director did actually mention or brought it up at a council meeting a number of months ago about the fact that he was ceasing the use of Roundup at that stage, so it was actually reported to council. But I totally agree with the sentiments that it's not legally banned, nor should it be. But secondly, the reason that you aren't getting the uptake of the chemical is because of the heat and the humidity, or lack of humidity. So it's the wrong time of the year to be doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Okay, we're back to the amendment to this. Sorry, Councillor Armstrong, question?
We're still discussing the LEASE program?
We are. Yep, we are.
Just in regard to weed control, I bring to Council's attention that Green Connect service from the Australian Government is advised that there is a grant available to those councils that are the recipients of the $1 million drought grant money, titled Communities Combating Pest and Weed Impact During Drought Program, Biosecurity Management of Pests and Weed Round 2, closing date 5th of February 2020. Reading the background information, it appears that submit application and pretty good grounds for believing it. I'd thoroughly recommend that this particular opportunity be explored in its fullest.
You might like to respond to that, someone?
Through the Mayor, just an update on that. We're producing the application at the moment, making sure it's ready in time for, I think it's the 4th of February or 3rd of February? 5th of February, there we go. So make it the 3rd to make it even better.
Had a discussion.
Thank you for that. So we're back to the recommendation that's there, councillors. Now, the dot point B, Councillor Flannery, is that the amendment you were looking to put there?
Yes, thanks with the comparison.
Okay, the mover and the second are happy with that dot point B to be there? Okay. Councillor Walker, happy with that? Yep. Thank you. All right, if there's no more questions in regard to that and that amendment, I'll put that. All those in favour? Again? It's unanimous. Agree it. Thank you, councillors. 2011. We go to the action summary report. It's moved by Councillor Horton, seconded by Councillor Stadmiller. Thank you. Any questions in regard to that report before I put it? Councillor Stadmiller.
We've now got two wholly companies in agreements and there was Opera deciding who's going to work out who's going to do what and who's going to pay for it. This just needs to be fast-tracked for the safety of those travelling through our Shire and Barrow residents. The shopping intersection, to my knowledge, has reached about 8 years with really nothing being done. We looked at compulsory employing it, and we went away to that, and now leading up to negotiations between two companies. Just need to get on that.
Thank you, Councillor Stadmiller. Anyone like to
Mr.
respond
Mayor,
to
there
that
was
statement? Councillor Flannery.
the establishment of the Weeds Committee. I think I've asked nearly every meeting since April last year. Can we have a date when the first meeting will be held? I have provided names to various directors.
I'm meeting with the relevant staff early next week to confirm the status of the preparation of that committee. I'm aware that they've been in contact with many of the people, including some of the names you provided, but I'll confirm the status of that and the dates for the first meeting. I want that started as soon as possible.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong.
Mayor, the very first page, 23rd of November 2016, and the proposed road code once a month. There's no expected time. Give an update on the situation in regard to that, given the Councillor Walker's earlier question in regard to that.
Thank you, Councillor. Hand that to the Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly on that particular intersection, the owners of the property are in the process of, at the moment, going through their final work on their getting their subdivisions approved. The plan is that they will provide some funds for that work. However, there's a lot of work to be done, or a lot of subdivisions along Wickham Lane, which will all fund that work, plus other works on Wickham Lane. Should Council so desire, I can organise a report back indicating how much that will cost and and for the sealing of Wickham Lane, and we can borrow that money out of various Section 94 funds to be paid as those developments occur. Or we sit with the current situation on Wickham Lane where not a lot will get done until such time as most of the development has occurred.
Thank you for that. Councillor Armstrong. Okay.
Yeah, I'll second it.
We had a mover and a seconder for the recommendation was there, so it'll be a matter of if they're happy enough to have that added. And that was Councillor Horton and Councillor Stadmiller. Thank you. Is that it? You happy for that to be added in there, Councillor Stadmiller? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, could I just ask a question of Director?
Councillor Horton.
If waiting for this costing, will you still do something about the lane in the next 2 weeks, as indicated earlier, Wickham Lane?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, I will, because it will still need the maintenance now. We're talking about a longer-term upgrade, which will probably take many months after we get the designs and then the approval's done.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, that's that
Mr
one.
Mayor,
Councillor
just
Flannery?
consistent with Councillor Stabnore's question about Gaylong Mine, has there been any process regarding a new VPA for Gaylong Road? Has there been any discussions occur yet before we actually start construction work on the road?
And to the relevant director or the acting general manager who'd like to answer that question.
I'll have to take that on notice. I'm not aware of anything at this stage, but I'll double check for you.
Could I request a report, because I believe that currently it's a local road, so it is funded from council funds, and the approval to use it for B-double or as a heavy vehicle route, there's been no allowance in council's forward budgets that I'm aware for the increased cost for maintenance of that road, and it would be, I would have thought, sensible of us to get an understanding of what the likely costs of the annual maintenance of that road will be, and then enter negotiations for a VPA before we start work on construction.
So, from what I heard there, Councillor, you'd like a dot point D put in there with this item?
Yes, please, Mr.
Okay,
Mayor.
could you just run that slowly by what you'd think that to be for them, or have they got it covered?
So, report on costings to inform it, the revised VPA or new VPA
Yes, before construction on the road occurs.
for a Gaylong Road update. Inform discussions on a revised VPA.
Should be costings.
That's it. You comfortable with it?
Upgrading should be annual maintenance, I think. Gaylong Road annual maintenance. Prior to construction of the road, yes.
There's constructions. The road plans.
Okay. Is the mover and seconder now happy for that extra dot point D to be in that item? They are. Thank you. Council, if there's no further questions in regard to that report, Councillor Armstrong.
The question in regards to 19/476 new lease 4 Court rural in 2586. Finding out the
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there's no completion date, purely because I still need to get the sliding doors fixed. They haven't quite been completed yet, but the negotiations with Essential are underway, and we're just working out how we can get the leases signed in accordance with the documentation that we had to council last month.
Would you like to be on budget for those door repairs or under?
I believe it'll be pretty much on budget, Councillor.
Okay, thank you for that. If there's no further questions on that report, with those dot points added, everyone's happy. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Again? So, unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Okay, 20.12 is media release is in Office of Local Government Circulars. They're there, council, and the recommendations there. Move Councillor Horton. Seconded Councillor O'Connor. Thank you. All those in favour? Again. Thank you. So be it. 2013 minutes of the Hilltops Community Wellbeing Group, Section 355, Committee requiring action. The reports of the council and the recommendation is there. Moved, Councillor Tuckerman, thank you. Seconded.
Just my name's mentioned there as being part of the committee. I'm not part of the committee. At least as far as I know, I'm not.
Well, endorse the Hilltops, blah, 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 and endorse Councillor Manchester on there is, so if Councillor Manchester is not on that and doesn't want to be endorsed on that fails there. I've got a problem with that, so the question I would ask you, Councillor Manchester, it says there for us to endorse you as a council representative, and you're saying that you don't know anything about it and you don't wish to be on that? Okay, so it's a typo. It's 355 committee report, of course. Yeah, okay. So we've had a mover, and I need a seconder. Councillor Wallace, thank you. Now, consider, councillors, there's been a typo there, and Councillor Manchester's name is not there. All those in favour? Again, so be it. Next item I go to is 2014 committee reports requiring no action. Moved Councillor Horton, seconded Councillor Armstrong. Question, Councillor O'Connor.
I think I asked last month about the Wombat minutes, because they haven't appeared for months, and I just wondered where they are. I haven't seen any Wombat meeting minutes for a long time.
I think that was taken on notice at the last meeting. It's one of those. Okay. Excuse me, staff and councillors, can anyone address the question by Councillor O'Connor, or we just take it on notice, we don't know, or...
Do we know if they're sending...
Councillor Horton, please.
Through the Mayor, do we know if the Wombat Committee is sending in the reports?
Yes, they were told to send them to a young trainee, and as far as I know, I thought they had.
So let's say staff respond to this and investigate it. Yep.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I attended the last meeting of the Wombat Progress Association, if that's what you're referring to. I was advised that I attended the previous meeting anyway. The last meeting, I was advised that meeting had been called off, so that I didn't attend that one. As far as I was aware, that meeting had been tabled, so I'm sorry, I'll have to check out with that, and I will report back. So I'm sorry, I thought that the answer I gave was correct in that the previous meeting had been postponed, but I'll check that and correct the record if that's the case. My apologies to council.
Thank you for that, that's fine. So I've got a mover and a seconder for that item. I'll put it all those in favour. Against. Thank you, councillors. 2015 committee reports requiring no action. Recommendation moved by Councillor Horton, seconded by Councillor Walker. Any questions? If not, all those in favour? Again. Thank you, councillors. Unanimous as well. It takes me to questions with notice as nil, rescissions or motions nil. It takes us to section 15, which is matters of confidentiality. So could I have someone please move us into confidential? Moved Councillor Manchester, seconded Councillor Horton to move
Can I
into
just note, please, Mr Mayor, in regards to moving into closed, again that the items referred to are under the wrong section. It's not actually section C. I think I pointed out that
You
last
pointed out
time.
last meeting, correct?
We make sure that it's actually the correct.
So, staff following what Councillor Tuckerman's saying, it was pointed out at the last meeting, the same thing.
What is it?
Sorry, we weren't here at the last meeting. This is,
No, the last meeting, where were we last?
Last council meeting.
We couldn't have had a council meeting without any staff.
No, December in Harden.
that was...
So what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
just for your information, so
Clear it up.
item 1, where it's referred to as commercial matter, goes the confidential under section 10A2C, when in fact 10A2C is in regards to commercial advantage, when it should be reflected in the item 2 that it should be, I would have thought, to do with personnel matters.
So can we have that checked out before we get to our next meeting, please? That's all. Okay, thank you. So having said that, I have a mover and a seconder to move into